Hey y'all, sorry I'm a little slow in getting some content out. I have undertaken my apparently annual complete redo of the Lego room and adjacent rooms after Brickworld. I did it last year, doing it again this year. So we're going to take a quick peek at what I'm doing, and then I'm also going to talk about how I've kind of reworked the tabletop overlay thing that I made for Brickworld Chicago, how I've worked that into my current situation, because you're going to see some things have changed here. So let's take a look at kind of the overview of the plan here, and then I'll jump into the details of the table. Oh, also when I got back from Brickworld, someone had chewed his tail open from some sort of skin issue, and so it got infected. So he's been receiving commands from the mothership for a couple days now, and this has been a trying time. This is his first time, at least with me, with a cone. And he has learned how to use his cone as a battering ram. And so that's been fun to wake up in the morning to getting smacked in the face by a plastic cone. He also was trying to knock over a bunch of Lego stuff and just generally not aware of his space, which he's not normally aware of his space, but especially with the cone. So anyways, let's actually take a look at some Lego now. Okay, so all of this is pretty normal. We're all used to this. The one thing I did just add, I added some shelving back here behind the door because this was kind of dead space. And so added some shelving back here just to add some more storage. This will be some smaller parts. You can see I've already started to stick some leaves in there so I can actually like separate out by color and all that. We'll see if I actually expand this to doing some more. But this is just kind of the start of that project. Oh, you got a little peek there. This is all normal. Nothing's changing here. This will probably never change just because of the layout of the room. This is where the big change happened. You're like, oh my God, where'd all this stuff go? You're right. Where did all this stuff go? So the big cabinets that were back here, that were my displays of stuff, went out into the living room. And so what this allowed me to do was take my table that I made for Brickworld and put it in here and then move all of those tables over there. And so I've gained somewhere around 50 base plates of city space, or it's actually going to be castle space. And so I'm pretty excited about this. You can see I'm still kind of getting some stuff set up. I still haven't finished this side. Got that all done up. But so that's kind of the general plan. I don't want to go too far into details on this because I don't know the details at the moment. This was kind of a epiphany that I had sitting here in the Lego room. You see I also moved the desk. The desk used to be all the way against the wall. And so I moved my desk over here. That desk is still there. This will be IKEA drawers at some point whenever I get to an IKEA that actually has them in stock. But anyways, so this is kind of the new addition, is that I'm expanding the city. Surprise. This seems to be a common theme after Brickworld every year, apparently. I don't know what I'm going to do at the Brickworld next year because once I get rid of a desk, I am out of room. But anyways, the general plan is to probably fill this in with some city over here, finish out a little bit of pirates across the front here, and maybe into seaside markets because that's coming real soon, kind of over here-ish. So kind of pirates, medieval, and then definitely medieval castle, foresty, maybe mountain thing. I don't know. We'll see. That's still a little bit, because one of the big issues that I need to solve is there is no way I can reach that back corner. And so I need to kind of think through how I want to do this in a way that I can slide bases and stuff out so that I can work on the stuff in the back corner. Or maybe make a access hatch in the middle here so I can pop up in the middle, and be able to work on stuff back there in the corner. But I don't really like that plan either. But so that's kind of one of the things I need to work through as well, as far as kind of layout and stuff. I have a general idea, but definitely more on that to come as we kind of develop this thought. But let's take a look at this table. Okay, so if you remember Brickworld, just go back a couple videos. I built this unistrut and plywood table, actually shelf board to be totally honest, table so that I could get speakers and stuff underneath and run wires underneath, even though there was another table here, right? And so if you remember from that video, these points were down to little 2x4s that I had made little like platform legs, and so that they could sit on top of the table. and then I could have this basically extra table on top so that I could run all my wires. It worked beautifully. I could put speakers under here. I sunk it down so it was pretty level with the speakers just barely clearing. It worked out great. But when I got back here, I'm like, well, that's not going to work, because if I would have put what I had on top of one of these tables, I would have been up that 6-8 inches to account for the speaker. Now, could I have made up some little like foliage type thing on this side to kind of account for that? Yes, absolutely. Would that have been annoying? Absolutely. And so I realized, actually at Brickworld, that I could just swap out those short little legs, make big legs, and just attach it straight to the floor. And so that was kind of the start of the redo of everything. And so you can see I just have all thread coming down to just this big U. Same thing on this side, and I have that cross brace because it was a little bit teeter-tottery for my taste, especially because I kind of pull it in and out to be able to get to the backside. I was able to bolt that right to the piece of unistrut. I'm going to bolt the speakers right to the unistrut, or run extra pieces across to get to kind of where I need the speakers to be placed. And so they'll be bolted to this top side, which is great because I'm kind of working on something maybe down here. But we'll see kind of where that goes. But anyways, I just wanted to show you that I took that top that I put on top of the table and basically made it into a table. And the beauty of this is that I can turn that piece of all thread. And so there's just a T-nut there. That nut's just to kind of lock the whole thing in. And then that's just to hold that top piece. And if I turn that piece of all thread, it actually raises and lowers the whole corner of the table. And so this was stupidly easy to level very quickly. And if you recall, Brickworld, I talked about having 6 points of contact on the table, and I did. I had 2 more supports here in the middle. That was mostly to distribute the weight on the table at Brickworld across, evenly across the whole table. But down here, since I'm just going straight to the floor, I didn't need to worry too much about that. And the all thread, there's actually really not that much weight here in the middle. Most of the weight actually sits over this leg because it's the mountain. You can see that the mountain's like right over that leg. And so that's where most of the weight is. And so I didn't really need that middle one, and it just created a little bit more of a leveling issue. And so I just did this, and this has worked out beautifully. In fact, I kind of wish that this is how I would have done all my tables. And maybe that's a future thing to work on. But this is also nice because let's say I want to take this to a show. I just have to unscrew the top part, take it apart, just as I did to go to Chicago, and I'm good to go. I just need to take my all thread pieces, swap back onto the other feet, and we're good to go. And so that's kind of what I did. And so the only thing that kind of sucks about the current situation, you see I got a little bit of a gap to close up there. But the current situation, using kind of the pieces that I had, I have this this is about a 6 or 7 inch gap here. And then I have like a foot or so gap here. And so I need to figure out some way to kind of close in those 2 gaps. Because obviously I want this to be seamless. And then I also got to figure out kind of what I'm doing about this, sorry, let me step back. I got to figure out what I'm doing about this kind of corner type deal. Do I want to add a little filler piece here so that I can kind of stagger back across all the way, on an angle? Or do I want to leave it kind of negative space? You can use your imagination to fill it in. So that's kind of some of the things that I need to think through. I'm also going to rebuild this little bit of mounds, which we'll talk about later in another video. But this kind of section here is going to be the next up on the docket to work on in the city once I get back to doing some building. So I thought I'd give you a quick update. There'll be more Brickworld content coming real soon. Thanks, y'all.